That way you guys don't have to read anything. Okay. Let's get out of the rares, actually go to colors. We'll go over every color really quick. Alright, so. Oh, yeah, there's not many. Most of the champions are fine. Scion of the V2 Gauzy, if you open that up in a draft, fucking windmill slam that like Yu-Gi-Oh! It. Someone says stop doing that, slap him in the face. It's good. Good first pick. It's just a good solid creature for 5 and puts more dudes into play. Renounce the Guilds. It's good. It's good removal. That's a rare you could open. In terms of commons, uncommons for just plain white, Riot Control's not as good. Steeple Rock, not that good, but at 5, it's a 3/1 flying first strike. That's something you don't want to pick up too early or too late, because it's a waste of an early pick. The Snare Squad is not terrible, but it's not. You don't want to pick it like first or second pick unless you're forced to, but I don't know why you'd be forced to. Boros Mastiff, if you're looking for 2-drops, it's a solid 2-drop. It's just a bear that if you attack with a bunch, it gets lifelink. There's really no downside to it. Excuse me. Live Decree, if you're in the more control-y deck with, like, let's say Azorius, or just a more control-y deck in general, this is a great card. 2 mana, detains 2 creatures. I loved Azorius when we were just drafting regular Ravnica, or Return to Ravnica. It is a really nice card to have. Now, the Gatekeepers are actually really solid, because you're going to be playing a lot more gates with the full block draft, and what that will essentially mean is you will actually get value out of him. In this case, you play him for 4 mana. He's a 2/4 already, so you're getting a good body for the cost, but you also get a dude if you have the gates in play. So, if, let's say, you don't have the gates and you need a creature, it's still not a waste of 4 mana, because you'll actually put something out into play. Maze Sentinel, on the other hand, it's not as good. It's good, not as good, though. It, what's the way to describe it? It's very situational and it costs 6 mana, so you're not looking at something that is probably always going to be worth it. I mean, a 3/6 for 6 isn't bad, but there's better cards you could be picking up over this. This is like one of the things you pick last out of a pack. Unless you have like some grand scheme, you're like, I need to pick this now before some other greedy person snatches it up from me. So move over to blue. Right off the bat, Aetherling. Like Scion of V2 Gauzy, that is something you want to pick up and windmill slam down on the ground. You know, drop kick the person next to you and say, I got Aetherling, deal with it. And then, you know, throw a rock through a window. It's really good. 6 mana for 4/5, where you have a ton of options for your mana. And you should win the game if you play it and they don't remove it. That's how it works. The Aetherling in the Ling set, like Morphling, has always been great and limited, where you pick it up. Yeah. It is amazing. Let me read Train Doctoring. Train Doctoring is not good limited, but you might find a way to basically screw someone over with it. You never know. Can't really say. It's not a card I've really looked into. Ever. Uncovered Clues is not bad. It's a better Augur Bolus, but in spell form. 1 more mana, you get to pick up 2 spells as opposed to 1. And I'm going to call that Scumbag Clues. I wouldn't say it's bad. I have use for it. If I can get more value out of that sort of spell, then it doesn't really bother me. I might try it, just to see how it works out. Oh, yeah. In Limited, not as good. In Constructed, solid. Sorry, I was going off on my own tangent. It's not good, not that great, unless you have a very control-y deck, like I was going over earlier with that detain card, double detain. Hidden Strings, not bad. You may tap or untap target permanent, then you may tap or untap another target permanent. That is actually pretty good. That gives you a lot of options where you can attack, tap down a creature, and then untap your own guy. It's good for attacking and untapping for blocks. Hidden Strings is going to be really good in draft, mostly because it's going to allow you to attack, possibly with multiple things. Get in with like some guy with evasion, and untap a big blocker. It's going to be really good for positioning and, you know, keeping your board stable. Runner's Bane, as I've seen, is actually really solid because there's a lot of things under the 3 power curve, or just under 3 power, or 3 or less. So that is generally always going to hit something, and it's going to keep them tapped, so you don't have to worry about it. Mind Static isn't terrible. It essentially says counter unless they pay 6. Or it just basically says counter target spell for 4 mana. It's not the worst spell I've ever seen. I think they could have just made it counter target spell. Putting the unless its controller pays 6 is not good enough to really... What's the best way to say it? It's doesn't matter because in limited they're not going to pay. They're not going to be able to play something that pays 6 mana. So it just basically reads counter target spell for 4. But you're gonna. It's not something you want to pick up generally, unless it's a late pick. Commonly, you don't see a lot of counter spells in draft unless you have that guy who picked up everything you need to make a good limited control-y type deck. Excuse my stuttering. I'm trying to speed up and go quick. Murmuring Phantasm, it's not terrible. It's not an early pick. It's just a 0/5 wall for 2. It's not terrible. It's good. It just blocks. If you need a deck that needs to get into the late game, it's something you want to pick up. Don't worry, man. If you're at my table, I'm going to DDT you through the window. No, I'm just kidding. Windrake, not bad. 2/2 flyer for 3. I don't know. It's too busy murmuring on the ground and scaring people. Yeah, it's just a... The Windrake is a pickup you want to pick up. It'd be uncommon if it had flying. They've done better walls for 3 mana. They could do flying 0/5 for 2. But it'd have to be uncommon, I'd say. Windrake is good. Just a solid 2-drop flying creature for 3. That is something you'll want to pick up. It's probably going to be, you want to pick those up within your first 5 picks unless there's insane things if you're in blue. Because it's going to be the glue that holds your deck together. It's going to be how you're going to win the game, or off the backs of Windrakes. Opal Lake Gatekeepers, once again. It's in that Gatekeeper cycle, where if you have the gates out, you can draw a card. So you're getting the 2/4 for 4, but then you're getting value from it. So that card will just cantrip itself, which is really nice. It's what you'd want to pick up. If you have a heavy gate deck, which you probably will. I mean, a lot of people are really into the gate cards. The gate cycle, because with how the packs and Gate Crash work, or Dragon Maze, you're going to get a gate in every pack generally. Maze Glider. Like the other cycled white card that we went over earlier, it is really not that good. I mean, don't get me wrong, for 6 mana you get a 3/5 flyer, and all your multicolored stuff come down. It's just... yeah, it could be good. I'm not sold on him. Yeah, I'm not sold on the Maze Glider. It's a 6-cost 3/5 flyer that could have a relevant effect, but I'm not sold completely. seems like it could be good, but I think it really needs the right deck to be good. Otherwise, you're just playing for a... You're paying 6 for a 3/5 flyer, which is not terrible. I know, but it seems... I'd rather play something else at 6 mana than this. This needs a deck to be good. Otherwise, you should be able to find a better 6-drop or a better bomb to toss out. No, I know, I'm just saying. Like, this is not... At 6 mana, you want to drop a bomb. We'll go over all the bombs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the first 2 packs you could pick up. But it's just, I don't know, I think you need a deck to go around that guy. Now, it could be a bomb. A 3/5 flyer is not a huge bomb. Oh. Okay, so Haunt of a Blight. If you open that up in a draft, pick it up. 6 mana, that's a bomb. It's a 2/7, gives all your creatures extort, and it extorts itself. If you're in that color range, that's really solid. Because if you're winning, you're going to win even more. If you're not winning, that can turn the game around for you, just off the fact that any spell you cast, if it's low mana cost, you can probably extort it like 4 times. So that can change the course of a game. The fact that it's 2/7, it will kill off a lot of stuff that it blocks, and it won't die to a lot of the stuff it blocks. Blood Scrivener. If you would draw a card while you have no cards in hand, instead draw 2 cards and lose 1 life. It's not bad. It's good. Is it first pickable? I'd say so. Even in draft. Because a lot of decks you're going to play, you're going to play a lot of cards. You're not going to have cards in hand a lot of the time. And this basically lets you fill up your hand every turn. Gives you an up on your opponent and keeps your hand filled. Or at least keeps cards in hand for you. Yeah. Crypt Incursion. Exile all creature cards when your target opponent's graveyard gain 3 life. No, that's bad. Don't play Crypt Incursion. Well, Blood Scrivener is awesome. Crypt Incursion, no, don't play that. I had to read it, and I actually had to really just look at it for a second. So I'm just like, oh, no, I don't think so. Sinister Possession. Don't play it. I'll tell you why. A lot of new players, when they're drafting, they'll go towards cards like Sinister Possession, because it basically says, you know, if they attack, they lose 2 life. I mean, losing 2 life is not terrible. I mean, it could eventually lock them down, but what you have to remember is, when your opponent has the choice, until they decide it's beneficial for them to attack, that means you're at a loss. Because if they decide it's worth the 2 life to attack in, then that's just not good for you, because they're going to get value out of it somehow. So it's just not good enough, even at 1 mana. I mean, you have better... If you want to draft cards like that, drafting the Contaminated Grounds is better, just because you can put it on lands and sort of maybe cut them out of colors without, you know, hurting themselves. That being said, don't take that with a grain of salt, because when I say that, I had a gentleman who had 3 Contaminated Grounds, and guess what? I still won. Do you know how much damage I took that game from? I took 12 damage off of Grounds, off of him playing those things. I still won. Why? Because you have to always remember, when the opponent has the choice on when they can tap it, that's bad for you. You want to basically have an immediate effect that if they don't respond to, it goes off. If you give them a choice, it's just a bad thing. You always want it to be to your advantage. Putting it on their stuff for them to use it, or use it as they see fit, yes, it might lose them health, but they will have the advantage when they decide to use it. If that makes sense. Did anything I say there not make any sense to you, you gentlemen? Manners, MTGO? Anyone else who's here for this? Because if so, I'm going to move on. Yes, if you give someone a choice, that is the worst thing ever. Like, here. Like this card. You might think this card's good. It's not. Because no matter what, your opponent will make the choice that benefits him best. Whether it's letting you get 3 cards or dealing 5 damage. The argument is, though, that they can deal 5 damage to him, or they can draw 3 cards. But if your opponent has the choice to let you not draw the 3 cards or just take 5 damage, they will always pick the one that benefits them the most. You don't want to give them the choice. You want to just do something. You don't want them to be able to, you know, to come out of it better than they should have. Like in Limited, you want to advance your board state without letting your opponent, you know, benefit from it. I'm not in the mood for this. Excuse me. Here we go. Alright, so, Sinister Possession we went over. I don't remember the other ones, we're just gonna go. Hired Torture, 3 mana for a 2/3 Defender. It's actually not terrible. It's decent for a 3-drop. It gives you something to do late game that just sort of pings your opponent for 2, and you get to check out their hand. Is it first pick material? No. Is it? This is something you're going to probably pick up mid-picks. I think it's not going to be something you're going to see late, but it very well could depending on how your draft's going. It just does things that benefit you. It will deal them 2 damage late game. It can block like on your opponent's turn. I would be excited if I had the money to actually do events on it, but I don't. So this is what I'm doing today. The Hired Torture is good. If you're in black, it's going to be solid, but it's not going to be better than some things. So even though it is really good, don't value it highly over like something with evasion. So it's a 2/3, it's a good mana dump later on, good blocker generally. There's a donation link. When we go down, oh, thank you. Torture, it's good. Don't overvalue. That's all I can really say about it. The Bane Alley Blackguard, it's not terrible. It's not going to be your best pick. It's not going to be your worst pick. It's going to be a 1/3 for 2. It's going to be a blocker. More commonly, you'll find cards like this in blue in sets. Except he has no ability whatsoever. This actually isn't too bad. This will chump a lot of stuff, but you're not going to be picking it up too highly. Opinion on Torture versus Tiger? Well, it's to what's a phrase? Apples and tomato, apples and oranges. They are the same mana cost, or no? Tiger costs 1 more as a 2/3 that lets you gain 2 life. But the big thing about it is, it can attack. If Hired Torture could attack, it'd be a lot better. But as it stands, it's just a decent blocker with the ability to pump some mana into it later on. You also have to keep in mind that Tiger costs less to gain the 2 life off of. So, when you're doing this, you go... What's the way to describe it? Tiger to me is better. No, without going too deep into it, I think it's a better card. But in their respective decks, which they even might be played together, they're both good. I value Tiger highly just because its effect costs less, and it can attack. If that makes any sense, Kite. But yeah. They're both good cards though, so I wouldn't undervalue one over the other, but if you put a gun to my head, I'd say Tiger's better. Because it doesn't have as much for the cost of its ability, and because it can attack. That's what I'd say. Fatal Fumes. It's going to be one of your prime removals for the set. If you're doing like... No problem, man. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. It's going to be give -4, -2. It's not bad. It's at 4 mana, which is fine for limited. It's not going to be terrible. It's just going to be a removal. You'll probably pick this slightly higher than some other things. Like, you'd probably pick up Fumes over Torture if it's early enough. But if you have a pack late that has Fumes and Torture, you're probably good in black anyway. But it's something you want to look for to remove creatures. It does hit quite a bit. Or lets you just trade off. So it's a good way to go. Rakdos Strike. Rakdos Strike is good in any black deck you play. Whether it's the control-y one, whether it's the speed one. It's a good 3-drop, has evasion, and more often than not, you're going to unleash it. If you are not unleashing a Rakdos Strike, you're in trouble. That's something I'm going to impart upon you. For 3 mana, you want the 2/3 flyer. It can't block, but if you're at the point where you need a blocker, it's not worth it to play this and not unleash it. I'll say that much. You're in bad shape if you do. So keep that in mind. If you're like playing a game, you're like, I just need to play this without unleashing it. Just remember back in your mind, uh-oh, Gen Acid said this is bad if I have to block with this. You just basically want to be playing and attacking with it. Probably one of the better cards in the black. We're coming to the 2 that I like the most. One is the Ubel Sar Gatekeepers. If you're in the gate deck, it's good. Once again, 4 mana. Once again, 4 mana for a 2/4. If you control 2 or more gates, target creature and opponent controls dies. You'll basically kill something. Generally. Or you'll get in some more damage, weaken something, get back in. It's just good. I mean, that cycle is good. And now for probably my favorite of the cycle. Thank you. Probably one of my favorites for the cycle. It's the multicolored creatures, or the Maze Abomination. It's 6 mana for a 4/5 Death Toucher. That's going to be really solid for blocking, really solid for attacking. All your multicolored creatures have Death Touch. The reason I like this one, especially over the blue one, is it's good on its own. Yes, the blue one can fly, and it isn't bad. Oh, 1 second. This chat's all backed up. I was thinking to myself for a second, I need another mod. Okay. Ritz, you're now a mod whenever it says it does. So I know some of the mods I already had aren't going to be coming on in the morning, because I just switched to morning times. And I guess before I finish my explanation on this, I'll plug this stream really quick. If you are enjoying watching this, please follow, come back again. I am always willing to help people with this stuff. It's one of the things I do. I'm helpful. I want to help, people who have trouble with drafting, and I want to entertain you. So whether it's I'm playing standard, whether I'm helping you out with this, as long as you're entertained or you're learning something, that's important to me. Also, you can come in and laugh at my bad plays. But yeah, if you're enjoying it, please follow, come back again. Alright, Maze Abomination. It's solid. It's just a good card for limited. For the cost, for the power, for the toughness. Everything about it's good. Death Touch gives all your multicolored colors Death Touch. That gives you more value. Well, just you have to remember, because it's really easy to go off track and draft. Just you gotta remember the basics, especially in return, before I move on to red and green. With this block, you want at least 15 creatures. And that's important. You want to have at least 15 creatures, Chris. Riss. Riss. I'm just going to call you Riss. But you want them to be good creatures. You don't want them to be bad creatures. Yes, sometimes you might have to fill that 15 slot with something good. But if you go less than 15, you need to make damn sure your spells are good enough to get you through there. Okay? Just remember that. That is one of the biggest things about this format. Good, efficient creatures, some removal, some combat tricks. That is one of the best ways to win in this format. Alright, so we're going to move on to red. Well, remember, you want at least 15. That's one of the biggest things. You want 15 at least. Alright. This is going to go a bit faster. Possibility Storm isn't terrible in draft, but it sort of is, because your opponent can work off of it. If you have a deck with like some unworldly thing, it's going to be good. I mean, it could work. I like the card. I'm going to try and build a constructed deck around it and try and do something stupid crazy with it, but that's going to be some Johnny deck that I want to beat someone with, and I want them to feel bad about losing to it, because that's how I play sometimes. I want to play something so off the wall that you shouldn't lose to it, but if you do, you cry a little bit, because you're like, I should have known! I should have listened! So if you see someone playing Possibility Storm, they just have sort of a janky deck, or you better watch out, because they might just send something fucking amazing your way. Excuse the language. I'm actually going to be putting this up on YouTube later, as I just go over the whole set. Possibility Storm is, and I've said this before, I don't know why, I want to play Possibility Storm in a standard deck with some tutors, and I'd only run 3 enchantments in the deck. Possibility Storm, some other enchantment, and then Omniscience. I just want a Possibility Storm into Omniscience. That's what I want to do. Don't ask me why, it's what I want to do. It's not going to be good, but I want to do it. And that's how some people want to do sometimes. I mean, I could play pro decks, or not pro decks, just amazing decks all the time, but I like having a back burner deck to play just to fuck around. But it's not good. You need, like, to be perfect. Your deck has to be basically set up for Possibility Storm, and it's rarely going to happen. Pyrewild Shaman. This card right here, it's... what's the best way to go? Yeah, there's a difference between good and fun. Sometimes good and fun cards are good. Pyrewild Shaman can be good. It's not going to be the best card. The reason being, the best way to describe this is, it's not bad to take, because it's an okay Bloodthirster card, and it can reoccur itself. The thing is, at what point... It's not even good in Standard, really. It's mediocre. It's somewhere between mediocre and good for Limited. I'll say why. Blood Rushes, that's good. Yeah, no one disagrees with that. But when you get to the point where you have to pay 3 to bring it back and all that stuff, at what point do you just say, I want this back, as opposed to I'm just going to play a creature, or I'm just going to play a spell? I mean, yes, you get it back when you want to, but... playing creatures is a lot better than reoccurring like this guy to your hand, unless that gives you more value. I mean, it depends on the situation, but Slaughterhorn's better than the Shaman. Just is. Shaman has potential to be good, but you need more of a deck set up for it, I think. I mean, you have to pump mana into it for it to be good, and paying 3 mana in the format and just getting that back to your hand and then saying go isn't as good. And that's just all there is to it. It's a card that is deceptively bad, is what I'd put it for Limited anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to think about that. It's a 3-1 for 3, which isn't good. You generally will never be playing it just as a 3-1. That's all there is to it. You're better off picking up Flamewalkers, or whatever they're called, the 5-1s, the Bloodthirst. Alright, that being said, that card can work, but you have to do some work to make it work. Otherwise, there's a good chance you are just going to lose value on it and make misplays. Right Piker for a 2-drop. Yeah, Scorchwalker. Thank you, Wingman. Right Piker. It is not terrible. It's not the best card, not the worst card. It's just a good card. Well, Chris, don't take that. So don't take it like that. Pyrewild can be good, but it's not first pickable. I'll say that much. It's not first pickable. If you can, and it's no one's gonna really first pick it unless they're just like, I'm gonna make this insane. There is a good chance it can wheel, but most likely a Bloodthirst deck will pick it up around the first wheel. But as opposed to a few other things, there is a good chance that you can get it back, as opposed to some other rares. Yeah. Right Piker is good. It's a first strike, 2/1. That is a possibility. Most likely, if you want to go Gruul, when talking about signals, you have, like, let's say you have a Pyreworld Shaman in your pack, and it is the only Gruul card in the pack. Take it then, because you'll be sending a signal that other things are open, but you'll be in Gruul. So pack 2, there's a good chance your opponents will be wheeling you stuff that will be good. But that's, I'll give you an example of that after this, because I'm going to do one more mock draft after this, and then I'm going to call it a day. And so I'm going to go over signals again later. Okay? Because when it comes to signals, you have to understand signals is to, like, when to first pick a Pyrewild Shaman. Because it's not terrible, but if you get the right pack, you can send it with the right signals. Alright, so Right Piker, good. It's a good 2-drop. First strikes. It's something I'm going to do common, trusty. When people ask me to, I do it. But, yeah, I'm glad you're learning. Or yeah. Right Piker is solid. It's a 2/1 for 2. It's a bear, but it's better than bears, most of the time. There is a counter to this in the set. It's that 1/3 black creature. It's not terrible. Right Piker is actually really solid. It's a card that you could see it. Yeah. It's a card that you could see it go late, but most likely it's going to be picked up like pick 4 or 5. It's not like a turn 3 pick. But, you know, if a pack's really weak, you could see it picked up earlier. Yeah, I understand that, but it is solid. But yeah, it's just solid. If you need a, if you need it to fill out your deck, it's good for that. It's a card that you'll most likely always play. Punish the enemy. It's good. I mean, on a scale of 4 to 5 in set, it's probably 3.5. Damn it, Crocker, stop that. But it deals 3 damage to target enemy or target player and 3 damage to target creature. That's good. It's like Chandra's Fury, except more balanced. Chandra's Fury was 4 or 5 mana. 4 damage to target creature, 2 damage to target player. This is more balanced to going over and over. But it's good. Yeah. There's really nothing wrong with it. We'll pick it up someday. It's only $10, but it's a way to go. If you don't have like a shop near you. But yeah, Punish the Enemy is good. For limited, no. For constructed, yes. Keep in mind, cards, you're always going to see some higher end burn spells like this going around, but it's the reason it's higher costed. When you see overcosted burn spells like this, here's the reason behind it. Where you could have something deal 3 damage and be instant and be like 3 mana or 2 mana, then, you know, that's going to be under. But when you have a card that will deal 3 to a creature and then 3 to a player, that's when they up the cost. Whenever a burn spell burns something and then does something else, that's when you get to the realm of like 4+ mana cost for burn spells. And limited, this is solid. You'll see a lot of people playing it, so don't be surprised. You don't let it wheel. Rarely will a card like this wheel. Clear the path, or clear a path. Destroy target creature with defender. Sideboard card. That's about it. you're in red and you pick one up, sideboard. It's not terrible, not the best, not the worst, it's just sideboard. It's like a naturalize. If your opponent has a lot of defender cards, which they very well could have, sideboard. Yeah, it's very narrow. But it can be good. Awe of the Guilds. It's awful. Don't pick it up. It's going to be a late pick card. It's going to be like something you're passed at the end. It's not really constructed playable, or it's not really limited playable. It's going to be a sideboard thing that you might think about putting in like every now and then. Weapon Surge. This is something I'd pick up early. Not super early, but early enough. Being able to, for a 2 mana, to give all your creatures +1/+0 on first strike is big. I played this in draft, and it's going to be a card that can win you games or blow out your opponent. Or just go, bam, I kill your big creature because I was able to get first strike. Giving the +1 on first strike is really, really solid, and you can catch your opponents with it quite a bit. Can't understate this. Pick it up probably... Huh. Gen? Yeah, it is. It's very, very strong. Come on, kill. You're killing me, man. Killing me. Rubble Belt Maka. It's good. It's not bad. I mean, it's a 4-drop for 3. Right off the bat, that's already good. 4-drop for a 3/3 creature. You already get good cost value for that. But then again, yeah, you tap 1 red, it's a giant growth. That is something you're going to want to take early, because it's very versatile. You can either play it as a creature, or you can Blood Rush with it. It works both ways. Holy shit. Something you're going to want on draft. Right now, probably not. Those decks are so far into control right now. I mean, you just have those and you have a bunch of mid-range decks right now. You're welcome, man. I play Grixis all the time, but I play Grixis Delver. Like, if you look at Jacob's list, I think, in my Grixis list, it's a few things have been changed, but I play Delver with 22 lands. He plays a more mid-rangey Grixis list, running like Dusk Mantles and stuff. But back on topic. Smeltward Gatekeepers. When it comes into the battlefield, if you control 2 or more gates, gain control of target creature and opponent controls and send a turn. This is really good. Once again, this cycle has been very, very solid. You're probably gonna play in a lot of gates. So once again, the 2/4 for 4, not terrible. It's cost effective generally. I mean, for 5 you generally see like 3 4s, 3 5s, but 2/4 for 4 is not bad. You get a body, you get to, yeah, if you have the gates. But the thing to remember as opposed to the other sets is the gates are going to be played a lot more because there's a good chance you're going to be in 3 colors most of the drafts. So you're going to want gates anyway. And you're going to have gates in every pack, or all Dragon Maze packs, so they're going to be out there. And once again, Maze Rusher. Maze Rusher once again holds to that cycle sucks. But it's not that bad. It's a 6/3 with haste. No, don't avoid it. It's something you're going to have to deal with, and it's better to just get used to them and play them rather than learn it the hard way. Maze Rusher is okay. I don't like it too much. I mean, I don't like a lot of those too much, because it's a 6/3, which the best you could do with it is catch your opponent off guard. Now, at 6 mana, I mean, what else are you going to have in hand that's going to take advantage of that? You're going to rip things off the top, but it's not that good of an effect. That's why I liked the black one a lot more. It's a 4/5 for 6, but has Death Touch. It's a much better attacker. This is a card that you can just catch people with. Like if they tap out thinking they got it, and then you can just go in like bam. But it's not the worst thing ever. It's way too situational for me. I don't like a lot of these, the maze guys or the elementals. I really don't. I mean, it could serve a purpose, but it's not that great. Okay. Let's go over green. Skylasher, not terrible. It's flash, can't be countered, and reach and pro blue. It's solid. If you can open one up, probably end up taking it because it'll be probably the best bear you pick up in the format. To me, it's one of the best bears in the format. Blocks flyers, you can do a lot to it. Flash it, catch people with it. It's versatile. That's what I like about cards. It's versatile to what you can do with it. Stops a lot of blue cards in its track, so you're going to have a up against Demir and just Mutant Spray. Yeah, we'll go over everything. Don't worry, man. Fido Burst. It's good and bad. I mean, 2 mana to give something +5/+5 is good, but it's sorcery. That is the downside. It means you can't. Your opponent will have a chance to respond to it before you can even get to the attack phase, because you have to play it before you attack. So you need to really either be heavy on evasion, or you need to play it when they can't respond to it. That is the 2 big things. It's situational in that phase, so it's good and bad. It's a card that I'd like maybe 1 of in a deck, but it's not one I want like 3 of in a deck. I mean, if you want to kill a creature, it's good at killing creatures, because someone will block your creature. Yeah, I'd imagine. But you just have to remember, it's not the best. Tith Drinker is really solid. We'll get to that guy soon. Mutant's Prey. Situational. Way too situational. Target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it fights target creature and opponent controls. It is good for the evolved decks. That's it. If you have an evolved deck, this is pretty solid. If you don't, no. It's bad. You'll avoid it like the plague. Yeah. If anyone has... I don't think I'm off on that one at all. That's just... it's there. What are you gonna do? That being said, we'll move on. Crawl Warrior. Yeah, but we're talking about limited here, so we're not going to see champion. Crawl Warrior. Not bad. And I'll tell you why it's not bad. Because it's a 2-drop for a 2/2. That's cost efficient. It's 2 mana for a 2/2, and then the upside to it is you can sink mana into it later. It's 6 mana for 3/3, but if you don't have anything else to do with the mana, it gives you an option to pump in and get some more damage in or kill something. So it's not the worst thing. Yeah. Mending Touch. You might play it, you might not. I mean, it's not good, it's not bad. It's something that's not going to be first picked, it's not going to be, you know, picked until late. It's going to be one of the last cards you'll pick in a pack. You probably won't end up playing it, but if you are at a loss for cards, it can be used. It's just 1 mana, regenerate a creature, that's it. And we are getting to the good stuff here. Thrashing Moss Dog. Breach. Actually, this is actually... I like Thrashing Moss Dog. 4 mana for a 3/3 with Reach. That's not bad. It's solid. It gets you in there. It blocks. And then if it dies, it scavenges for 6. 6 mana, gives them +3/+3. It's good for late game when you don't have anything to play. Gets you in there for those last few points. Overall, it's just a solid 4-drop for the set. And then one of my personal favorites from the set, because we're just moving along now. Green's pretty easy to go over. Battering Krasis. It evolves. It's a 2/1 trample evolver for 3. It is probably... it's the thing you want to play. It is the second best common evolver, next to Croconera. I mean, it's a fish beast. It's not a fish shark, or whatever the one. I think it's fish shark. Fish beast is fun, but it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. It is costed perfectly. If it costed 4, it wouldn't be good, but you could probably see it in some alternate universe costing 4, because it does quite a bit. You have a lot of stuff in this set that has bigger butts with toughness, so it's going to evolve off that quite a bit and get you the more power out of it. Common fish mute? Oh, that guy? I'm talking about common, not uncommon. The Krasis is really solid. It stands right up next to Croconair. But it's good. And then we go right into the Renegade Krasis. If you are in Evolve, you want to pick this up. Simple as that. It evolves. It's a 3-2 with Evolve for 3. Already that is good value for the good cost efficiency for the creature. But when it evolves, you put a 1 creature on each other creature with a 1/1 or +1/+1 counter on it. So you get, it makes your evolve better. So if you have a bunch of evolved creatures out, they'll all evolve when that guy evolves. So it's solid. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's perfect for its cost. Yeah, it's the Evolve Lord. Thank you, Mad Chicken. If you're in the Evolve deck, it's good. You cannot go wrong with it. It's not something... There's not much you take over it. You wouldn't take a Battering Krasis over it. You wouldn't take a Croconair over it if they were all in the same set. It's one of the best Evolve things you'll get. And that will give your Evolve deck the edge to really go over the top and win games easier. Ceruli Gatekeepers. When they come into play, if you control 2 or more gates, you gain 7 life. Once again, the whole cycle's good. 4 mana for a 2/4. Costed right. And if you have 2 gates, 7 life in limited is pretty big. Gives a blocker and gives you a lot of life. It basically can get you right back into the game. Because a 2/4 is nothing to scoff at, and 7 life means your opponent has to do a lot more to bring you down. And then Maze Behemoth, because I don't want to draw on and on about green, because green's easy. It's bad. 6 mana for a 5/4 trample, and everything else is trample. It could be good, could be bad, it's very situational. I'd rather just have like a 5/6 or something for 6 with trample. I don't like that it has 4 toughness. I don't. It is fun with Feral Animist, but that's too much mana. If you're playing Feral Animist, you should probably be winning by then. They love them, but I don't like them too much. There's most likely going to be better things you could play. To me. Alright, so we're going to go to Artifacts. That's all the Clue Stones. Clue Stones aren't bad. Mana fixing, and they can you draw a card when you need it. It's not bad. It's good. If you can get some, maybe 1 or 2 in a deck. I'd say probably 1, but if you can get 2 and wrangle it in, it's not going to be bad. Yeah, it's just solid. They ramp you. Yeah, 2's pushing. You never go 3 Clue Stones, unless you're playing like the 5-color fun stuff deck. Like 4 or 5-color fun stuff. But then, yeah, it cantrips itself, so you can basically draw your card eventually. It's good. Nothing bad about it. Go over to lands, and we'll start going over into all the fucking guilds. I don't know. I found myself cracking Clue Stones more than Key Runes. Key Runes just double as dudes, which can be good at times. Yeah, Rakdos Key Rune's awesome, Dimir Key Rune's awesome, the other ones are sort of meh. Generally, I'd say I like the Clue Stones more than the Key Runes, because it lets me draw eventually if I need to draw. Going into the lands, you have all your guild gates, you have all your shock lands, which are solid, good stuff. Maze's End, no, not talking about, it's bad, don't. Somebody said like, oh, you draft a bunch of gates and you just play it, like, no. It's bad, it's too slow. The fact that it comes into play tapped and only produces a colorless mana, you are slowing yourself down in a format that will kill you if you slow yourself down too much. Alright. Azorius. Alright, is Council the Absolute or is the Battlefield? Name a card. Council is not terrible. Now, it's a sideboard card, yes. Or Control might play it main board if they, you know, they have things they want to name for every deck. That's viable, but Council is not bad in draft. It's 2-4 for 4, like the ones we were talking about earlier. But you can basically play that. Name something in your deck. Your opponent can't cast it, but it'll cost less for you. So it can basically ramp you into something. So it's not bad. It's not terrible. Not the best thing. But is it terrible to pick up first pick? Not really. If it's a weak pack, you can pick that pick one. But even if it's not a weak pack, even some decent packs, you could still pick that pick one because it's not terrible. It really isn't. It's not the best thing, not the worst thing, but it's right there with just a good card. Just being a good card. I don't think I'm wrong on that. So, yeah, it's just solid. Nothing much to go over with it. And Construction is just going to be a sideboard card or a main creature. Not necessarily. It really depends on the deck you're playing. It's narrow in that aspect, but it's not terrible, I don't think. You can play it as a body and basically just say, like, some spell in your hand to cast it for less and play off of it or something like that. Or, you know, if you're playing someone game 2 and you play it, name off a removal. Yeah, pretty much. Moving on, of course, Lavinia the 10th. Protects from red. It's a 4-4 for 5. And it's good. Pick it up. It's a first pick card for sure. This is something you will pick up first pick if, like, for some reason you're doing, like, triple Dragon Maze or you do Dragon Maze first. It's good. It's not bad. If you're in Azorius, it's awesome. That can seal up the game for you. It'll generally detain everything. I mean, it's not much. I mean, against the red decks, you're already up, and then it detains everything and has a good body. Can't go wrong with it. Render Silent. I generally say 16 to 17. On rare occasions, I'll go 18. If I have a more aggressive deck, I'll go 16. If you have more of a mid-rangey deck, or just, yeah, you're not the super aggressive deck, you want to go 17. If you're like super control sometime, if you're super control, 18. But I never go below 16, and I never go above 18. Ever. Okay. Render Silent. I can't really say I love it. It's good. Not terrible. I mean, it's a 3-mana counter spell. Stops your opponent from casting on a turn, I guess. If, like, you counter their first spell of the turn, like they have 7 mana, a handful of cards, and they're like, alright, I tap 2 and I play this first, you're like, I counter that, your turn's done, pretty much. So, it's situational, but it's not really first pickable. Unless you're that super control-y deck that pops up every now and then that makes people want to kill themselves. Past that, we have Ascended Law Mage. A 4 casting cost, 3/2. Flying Hexproof. It's solid. Just a good solid flyer, gets in for some damage, can't be burned out or, you know, removed. So it's a good pickup. That's going to be something you might think about picking up first pick, or just picking up late. But if first pick of the pack, if you're in Azorius colors, it's good. Really good. It's going to be one of your good first pick pack, or one of your first... If you're in Azorius, it's going to be one of your big first picks of Dragon Maze. There you go. Jellin Sphinx. Good, but is it as good as Ascended Law Mage? I don't think so. Flying Vigilance is really solid. And whenever it attacks, other attacking creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. I had a chance to play it, and it's not bad. It's good if you have a very creature-heavy deck, gets you in there for a bit more damage, puts your opponent on a bigger clock, puts some more pressure on him. But no, it's not bad. 5 mana for a 1/5 flying vigilance. Blocks, does good. And you know, you could probably pick that. It is probably first pickable if you're in the Azorius colors. So it's just a good solid creature. It's a good 5 drop. Yeah. Restore the Peace. Not terrible. Not the best card, not the worst card. I know I've said that a lot, but still. Restore the Peace. Return each creature that dealt damage this turn to its owner's hand. Oh, return. Yeah, that's each creature. Never mind. That's awesome. Pick it up. You can really fuck someone over with that. Misread it for half a second. Each creature that dealt damage this turn to its owner hand. Yeah. It's like a slightly worse Aetherize, but it costs 1 less. So if you play that on like your opponent's turn 4 where he's swinging in with a bunch of things, you can really set him back, which is good for you. And you can basically, gives you more time to set up. So it's not bad. It really isn't not that bad. Deputy of Quittles, good. It's a 2/2 bear flasher for 2. And you can basically bounce something back, get some more value for it, or it's a Yume ability. So you can just flash it in EOT and just say, alright, have a bear, swing it in next turn. It's really a basic thing. It's just going to be a good solid deck filler. Okay, I have to actually work like this. Oh. Protect and serve. Not bad. It's going to be a good card for your deck. It's not overcosted to basically give something +2, +4, and then -6, -0 something. It's just going to be a good card for a deck. It's not bad, so it's something that is very playable. It's a good combat trick, or it's a good... Yeah, it's just a good combat trick, pretty much. Beck and Call. Beck and Call is sort of a weird thing to go over, and I'll say why. Beck is not something that is for limited. It is not something you will get amazing value for in limited. That's just how it is. Beck is a card that is for older set combos, or older format combos. It's going to be used to go off on some combo deck so they can draw a billion cards. That's just all that's going to be used. And you might be able to draw a few cards off of it sometime, but it's not going to be used to its full effect in limited, so it's not something you're going to play very often. Call, on the other hand, it's 6 mana for 4/1/1 flyers. That's not that good, but it can either stall out the game for you or give you the edge you need to finish a game. So if you have nothing better and you pick up a Beck and Call, there is a chance you can play the call part of it, but if you have a better choice, like just a better creature to go over it, there's a good chance you won't run it. So it's not amazing, but it's not... It depends on the deck. That's all I'll say on it. What you have, what you've drafted, if that's viable to play. Now, back on track. We're in Orzhov. It can, yeah. Well, it costs 6 mana. Oh. Yeah, generally, there's a good chance you could be in, like, Simic or Simic in that. It's situational. Like I said, it really depends on the deck underway. It could be good, could be bad. It really depends. Right off the bat, we're in Azorius. Blood Baron of Escopa. It's a 4/4 for 5. Lifelink Pro from white and black. That's pretty good. If you have 30 or more life and your opponent has 10 or less life, Blood Baron of Escopa gets +6/+6 and has flying. So if you are really winning the game, if you weren't really winning before, you are really going to win afterwards. If you have Baron up like that. It is really good. It's really much a bomb in draft. Pick it up if you get the chance. You're in those colors. Because it's not terrible. It's really good. Lifelink in Pro 2 colors. I mean, you're not pumping him with a white or black spell or doing anything with him or interacting with him with those colors. But he's good enough to stand alone and win you games for yourself. Or to stall long enough so you can win. Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts. 7 mana for a 4/4 Vigilance Pro creature card. I love her. I've had her in my draft, or in my pre-release, and my deck was garbage, and I had to splash black just for a bomb, which was Teysa. And I was really impressed by that card. If you get her out, you're generally going to win. She can block creatures all day, and if you're not low enough, you'll start making dudes whenever they attack, because you will destroy anything that hits you for damage when she's out. If they were in the same pack, probably Baron. Just for the fact it costs 5. And has lifelink. They're both first pick cards. I mean, if you open a pack, you have both of them in there, you're gonna scrunch anyway, but they're both good and limited. That is pretty much just all I can say about that. That is a choice I don't really like. It really depends on the deck too, but I'd probably pick Baron first just because it's cheaper and you'll get value out of it. But Teysa, when you play it, even more so than Blood Baron, it basically signals, yeah, it's usually better because it costs 5, and it is better because it costs 5. But Teysa I like more, personally. But if I had to choose between two of them, I'd say Blood Baron, because I can get it out faster and I can get to work with it faster. Teysa you have to work more to get out. That's just the truth about it. Obsidat, let's move on to Obsidat 8. With Teysa, just to go over the last ability one more time. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy that creature and put a 1/1 white and black spirit creature with token. God damn it. A 1/1 spirit creature token with flying into play. So you kill your, they hit for damage or something, that dies, you get a blocker, or more damage to go in. That, combined with the fact that Teysa attacks every turn and gets in for 4 unless they kill it with a spell, it's perfect. I love it. But, yeah, she's awesome. I mean, I could see her being played in Junk Rights only for the reason that if you can get a Teysa off turn 4 against aggro decks and they don't have if they don't 2-for-1 it, or if they do not, what's the word? Mizzium Mortars, then it will come out and it will basically ruin their day. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I think it could be played in Junk Rights as like a singleton. Alright, that all being said, Obsidat's 8. It's 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. In limited, it's okay. It's not the best card, not the worst card. I've said that many times, but that's just the truth. You play it, and I'm tired of Tron. I swear to God, this song. Okay, it just returns a permanent back. In limited, like even in core sets, you had like Rise from the Graves and Unburial Rites. They're okay. Reanimation cards in limited are never the most amazing thing out there, but they're generally not bad. So you're not going to pick it super early, but it's not a bad mid-game pick. Mauve Obsidat. If you have a heavy token deck, it could be good. It's very situational. Otherwise, you're paying 5 for a 3/3 creature. It's good for possibly sealing a game up if you have a bunch of tokens. If you have like a lot of tokens. If you have some way that is getting you a bunch of tokens, you can win the game with Maw easier. But that's like one of the only times it's going to be amazing. Otherwise, you're just playing a 5/5 for 3. Or you sack a creature to either trade more things or just better your position. But it's very, very situational. Also, you have to balance what you're doing with it well, otherwise you can just go really bad with it, essentially. Dead of the Deathless. Not bad. It doesn't bother me too much. It's an X spell, 2 white, 2 black. If you're an Orzhov, I like it just for the fact that if you have 8 mana later on, you can make them lose 8, you gain 8 life. I mean, if you do it for 6, they lose 4, you gain 4. This is a card that's going to be playing Commander quite a bit, because it lowers the amount of mana you need just to flat out win. They need to do better work there. They hit you with 12 for it. God. But I like it. I think it's a finisher. Or it just keeps you in the game. It's not terrible. It's good. It actually is pretty good. Just a high cost. So it's going to be one of the things you're going to play to ruin your opponent's day. Sin Collector. It's a good 3-drop in the set. It's not a bear. It's a 2-1 for 3, but it's gonna remove some. It's gonna remove some problem cards from you from the match, and give you a body on top of it. So that's pretty much what it is. It's better than the God, what's it called? Something Tidehauler Scholar, because even though it costs 3, it actually removes the card from play. The downside is it's a 2-1 for 3, but the ability makes it worth it. I mean, there's going to be times where you're not going to hit anything, but getting a removal out of someone's hand and then playing out something big is... So, don't expect Sin Collectors to go too late. It's something you'll have to look for early on or not. Or just look for early on. That all being said, Tith Drinker, it's a 2-1. Costs white, costs black, lifelink and extort. It's one of the best extorters now. I mean, you could probably make an argument that it is one of the best common extorter, but that still has to go up against man, Kingpin's Pet. Kingpin's Pet is really solid. You can't really go wrong with that or this. I don't think Screecher's better than Tith Drink or Kingpin's Pet. Sorry to say. I like it. But yeah, I know. I like the fact that the Orzhov is the other guy's a 2-2, gives it more value in the air as a beater. Whereas the Screecher's a 1-2 that has it for 2. But Tith Drinker, on the other hand, is a 2-1, so when you can beat with it or when you can enchant it, it's really solid, but it's also has a lifelink, which is really huge. So I think Kingpins and Tith are the 2 best common extorters. I mean, you still can't go wrong with the Thrall as like the best uncommon extorter, just 1 man, oh, I have an extorter out. Yeah. So that being said, Pontiff of Blight, we already went over Clue Stones. Profit and Loss. It's actually pretty good. Profit and Loss can win you a game. Gives your creatures +1/+1. Gives your opponent's creatures -1/-1. Might be the edge you need, it might just be a blowout card at 5 mana, it's not bad. It's good. I've said that quite a bit. Once again, I've been a broken record with some things, but, you know, I have to shuffle through things. So just gotta keep going. Ready and Willing, because that's popped up here. To be perfectly honest, great card. Creatures you control are indestructible. This turn, untap each creature you control. That is going to ruin a lot of people's days. Just saying that right off the bat. And Willing, creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink. At 6 mana, if you drop that against someone, you better win the game or they better not have a creature on the board anymore. That's all I can say about that. It's amazing. It's costed well. And both sides of that card. Yeah, surprise, Vaulted the Archangel, and your 5/5 can't even kill my 1/1. I gain a life off of blocking it. And it dies. Nothing wrong with it. It's probably going to be one of the worst cards to go up against in draft, because if you get that played against you, you are in for a bad time. I gotta go over a bunch. But we're going to do this whole thing. We're going to do it all. I don't start things in half-assed. Just right now, welcome everyone watching. I know this is something that, you know, we had a lot of people leave, but the people who are staying are people who want to learn about this or go over cards and prepare themselves for this limited format. That being said, if you are new to the stream and enjoying it, please follow and come back again. If you ever have any questions about limited in general or even standard, any Magic question, you can ask me. I've been in the Magic community for a long time. I am a vault of information, and I generally will not steer you wrong. Just don't judge me when I'm playing standard and I'm misplaying while I'm streaming. I distract myself. To be perfectly honest, the mill mechanic they had, and Cypher, I think Cypher was a Demir one. That mill mechanic is way too fucking solid, and I don't think they wanted to flood the set, like flood the format for limited with even more of those, because it's really good. It's like instead in like standard where you have to hit like 20 something lands to mill out, in limited it's like 16. I've killed people off milling. It's not a fun way to lose because I've lost to it also. Excuse me, this should be a quick one. Reap Intellect. It's a standard card. Or it's a you mill your opponent's hand out when they tap out. Basically take everything and strip their hand. Yeah, Mind Grind kills are hilarious. So Reap Intellect can be played in limited for the sole reason that you can strip your opponent's hand with it. If they somehow give you the opportunity, you can just be like, alright, take all that out of your hand, get it out of here, exile it. And if they have doubles in their deck, exile that too. It's not going to be something first picked in limited, but it's not going to be the last card picked either, because it has play, whereas a card like Slaughter Games won't. Because they reveal their hand and you choose the cards out of it. So it plays. Mirko Vosk, a flying 2/4 bomb for 5, and that is basically a good mill win con. If you're playing the Demir deck with mill, it's going to be a good finisher if you can pick it up. I mean, I'm not going to go way over it because it's basically they mill, yeah, until they mill 4 lands. So, yeah, and yeah, Reap Intellect lets you look at their whole deck, so you get to know what they have. And yeah, Mirko Vosk is good. If you're playing mill, it's a good finisher for him. Notion Thief. It's a card that I think is slightly being overhyped, but I think it's good. You flash it in, if your opponent would draw a card except the first one he or she draws, and each of those are draw steps, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. So it's pretty much a standard card, but you could probably get some use out of it in limited. I mean, EOT 3-1 and putting another dude on the field isn't bad. Just not the best. Warped Physique. Target creature gets plus X or minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. It's going to be a card that you'll probably play with a bunch and snipe off some little dudes. Generally, you're going to hit things for like 3 and just remove them for 3. It's really deck dependent how you're playing, but when you have it, you probably want to toss it out early, and that's the truth. Haunter of Nightvale. Had this played against me, I just flat killed it. It's a 3/4 and it weakens all your opponent's creatures. It's good. Yeah, let's switch off songs off this. That's probably fine. We'll go with that. Alright, so yeah, it's a 3/4 for 5. Solid card, does work for you. Weakens your opponents. Yeah. Yep. Woodlock Crawler. It's a 2/1 Forest Walk Program. Yeah, most likely you'll want to take some of those because you will see some decks. You're going to see a lot of green decks out there. It's really good against the Gruul deck. It's going to kill their little guys and stop their big ones from getting in for damage. That is a card, if you were in Orzhov, or if you're in Dimmer, play it. Pick it up. Because you will most likely be up against some green decks at one point if you're winning. So it's not a bad card. It's a decent bear to put in. You can play that main board. It's, you know, yeah. Pilfered Plans. Target player puts the top 2 cards of his or library into his or her graveyard, draw 2 cards. You mill your opponent for 2 and you draw 2 cards. It's not terrible. That's it. You draw cards, your opponent mills. It's good. It's going to keep your hand full. It's going to possibly go towards your mill goal. But even so, it's basically divination for, yeah. It works. Trait doctoring, we already went over it. It sucks. Hidden strings, already went over it. Alright, far and away. Far and away, I love personally, pick it up if you get the chance. It's a bounce, it's a sack. You can manipulate it how you want, so it's just a good way to go, okay? Return or sack. You can play one or the other, or you can do both for 5 mana. It's good at 5 mana because you can bounce and kill something else. It's better than Devour. Devour Flesh, because you have the option to bounce something, and there's no downside to it. It's something I'm going to end up playing over Tribute in Standard, because it gives me more options on how to work. I can bounce a token, kill off like a Reckoner, which is something common if you're playing a lot of Aristocrats. And, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Breaking, entering. If you're in the mill colors, it's great. Or if you're into the mill plan, it's great. And if you're into red, that's good. You can basically get some damage. But most likely, people are just going to pick this up for the Dimir decks for breaking, or they'll pick it up for the Rakdos deck for like their super late game if it ever gets to it, which is sort of rare. If the Rakdos deck loses, it's done anyway. Yeah, you'll pick it up for breaking just to sort of finish people off, because top 8's pretty solid. That's almost 1/4 of someone's deck for 2 mana. Not as good as the one from, I think it was the original Ravnica. I think it was Glimpse into the Unthinkable or something like that. I know it was Glimpse, which was just flat mill 10. Alright, is it? Yeah, thank you, Glimpse Unthinkable. Alright, this is going to be fucking easy. I'm going to go over these very basically because it's not hard to do this one. Ral Zarek. It's awesome. If you can open one, play it. If you open one and you're not in a serious tournament, pick it up, it's worth money. It's awesome, it's good, it does work for you, it'll get you wins. Melik, is it Paragon? Melik, is it Paragon is a bomb for the Izzet decks. It's a 2/4 for 6, but if you have a very spell-heavy deck, it will do work for you. It's not going to be the best card out there, but in the right deck, it will wreck. That's all you can really say about it. It's not... It just does work for you, that's about it. I would have liked it more if it cost 5, because I think a lot of the champions are a bit overcosted, but they probably didn't want to overcost them. Because they were going to be like the promos for the deck, and they didn't want to make them too good. Okay, Blast of Genius. Let's read over this. Choose target creature player, draw 3 cards, and discard a card. Blast of Genius deals damage equal to the discarded card's converted mana cost to that creature or player. That is a card that is not that good. I mean, you draw 3 for 6, and you have the chance of dealing a lot of damage, but at the cost of doing that, you have to discard that card. So you're paying 6 to draw 3 and discard something you probably could have played, which might give you a better board position, but it'll deal a bunch of damage. So play that one with a grain of salt, but it's not like the best thing out there at all. Dragon Shift. Yeah, discarding split. Yeah, discarding split's good, but you better make sure it kills them, because otherwise you're discarding your split. Dragon Shift is awesome. Pick it up if you get the chance. It will finish your opponent. They won't know what hit them except for a bunch of 4/4 dragons. You overload it for 7, you win. If you don't win by overloading a Dragon Shift, there's something wrong. Not much to say about that. Dragon Shift is awesome. It gets you there. Flux Charger. Not as good. You need a very or spell-heavy deck. 4 for a 1/5 flying, but actually no. For 4 for a 1/5, whenever you play a spell, you basically hit for 5. That doesn't seem too bad, actually. Sorry, I had to change my opinion on that on a whim, but it's good. I think that's one thing to look into. I think that'll finish a game pretty quickly for you with the right, or just by having a decent hand. Goblin Test Pilot. Yeah. If you have Goblin Test Pilot and you're feeling lucky, go for it. That's all I can really say about it. Because you have to, every time you cast that, you just take a shot in the dark. I don't like shots in the dark. I like things that are just do work for you and do it without having to flip coins. And then Nivix Cyclops. If you are running Flux Chargers, run Nivix Cyclops. I think they're good. The only reason I didn't play them at the pre-release was because they were the only Izzet cards I had, and I had 3 of them. But they just weren't good enough to splash blue for. But if you have a good Izzet deck, play them. They, for the cost, are going to beat your opponent into the ground. Turn and Burn. There's really nothing... You can't go wrong with Turn and Burn. For the sole reason, something's gonna... You can turn something into a 0/1, then kill it. Or it's just a burn, or it's just a combat trick for blocking. Pick it up if you get it. It's going to be the right fit, or the right clue that holds your deck together. And it's going to be solid. Catch and Release. Permanent on a turn. Tab it against Hastings on a turn. Catch is awesome. It's just your basic, your creature steal to finish a game and blow out your opponent. And Release lets you sacrifice it. Yeah, and if you play Catch and Release together, there's a good chance you'll win. You could be like, I take your bomb and then I sack it, and then you're taking all your stuff down while I still have my creatures in play. It's sort of situational, but it can be good. Not much to really say about it. The catch part's good, the release part can be good. Release part can blow out your opponents randomly. Okay, Master Cruelties. Not much to say about Master Cruelties. It's awesome. It's a first strike, death touch for 5. It's 1/4. It can only attack alone. But if it hits your opponent, you're basically winning the game, or you should. There's not much to really say about it. But even when you stack block Master Cruelties, you can't really do anything about it. You need to basically put something in front of it every turn. Otherwise, you have to overstack block it, because he will always just kill the best thing for him, and he'll probably live. Xava Rakdos Blood Witch, really good in limited. It's for 4 mana you get a 3/3 first strike haster with Unleash, so you're generally getting a 4/4 first strike haster. And yeah, if you have a bunch of Unleashed creatures, it makes them better. They'll have haste too. Well, yeah, it'll haste them up for you. Spike Jester, 3/1 for 2, haste. Just gonna be your general aggro cards you run into every now and then. It's gonna hit you and you're gonna be like, damn, that sucks. 17. That is literally what you'll say too when you're playing. If you don't say it, you'll just think in your head, damn, that sucks. Alright, 17. Mark it off on your little piece of paper. I mean, you'll deal with it, but it'll hit you. And you have to trade generally for it early. Sire of Insanity. If you're playing against Sire of Insanity, you probably lose. Because he's going to come down always generally when you don't want him to come down. He's going to make you discard your hand, and he's going to start beating you in the face. That is pretty much all you can really say about Sire of Insanity. He's just going to come down and ruin your day. 6/4 for 6. Yep. Ugh, man. Carnage Gladiator. Whenever a creature blocks, that creature's control loses 1 life. It's a 4/2 for 4 with Regenerate. This guy is awesome. He's going to beat into your opponent, he's going to punish them for blocking, and he's going to regenerate and most likely kill things off. If you are in, like, black, red, green, this guy is optimal for you. He's awesome. Gets there for you, it does work. gets that damage in. Showstopper. Bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. If you have a way to kill off your creatures and win, sure, it's good. But if you don't, it's going to sit in your hand for a long time and it's not going to do anything for you. I mean, if your opponent blows you out, I guess it's just something to basically pop out and say, haha, I don't get blown out completely, take 6 life. Or, yeah, lose 6. Oh, wait. Never mind, I misread it. Sorry. Got egg on my face. When it dies, deals 2 damage. Oh yeah, it basically turns a blowout, possibly out of a blowout, or away from a blowout. So it can even the board a bit, but it's still not that good. No. Morgue Burst. Target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It deals damage to target creature or player equal to the power of the cards returned this way. I like it, but at 6 mana, it might be a little overcosted, but it's going to make an impact. You're going to get something back, and then you're going to deal damage, which is not terrible. Rakdos Drake, we already went over. Breaking and Entering, we already went over. Toil and Trouble is something I like, personally. I played it in Draft to great effects, or Limited. It might not seem too great. Half of it is draw 2 cards, target player loses 2 life. And then they deals damage to target player based on the number of cards in their hand. I mean, I played a guy where I just went like this. I had 6 mana and he tapped out for something big, but he was playing really conservatively. I was just like, alright, I'm going to draw 2, and you're going to take 6 damage. And then that's how it went. I drew out, he took a bunch, but I mean, you can win just off being tapping 6 and be like, alright, you're at 4. Alright, you're at 2 cards in, alright, draw 2, and you're tapped out, alright, draw 2, take 4, you lose. Oh my god, how many guilds are there? Ugh. Okay. I'm gonna take a bit and actually gather my thoughts, because all I've been doing is talking for about an hour straight now. How you guys doing? This is something good though. I'm gonna put this up on YouTube afterwards. I mean, it's just gonna be a draft tool for people. Also, to the people who, hopefully they're still in here. The people I originally did this for are gone, but the people who stayed are the ones who want to know this, so helping you guys out, giving you some insight. Or you might just think I'm dumb. Who knows? Deadbridge Chant, pretty good in draft. Yeah, pretty good in draft. It basically gives you an extra card every turn. Just you have to be careful when you play it. You want to play it as early as possible. Well, it's what I'm here to do. Help you out. Makes you more confident in your abilities to draft, and that's what I'm aiming to do. It is a bomb. Deadbridge Chant, if you can get it out early, you might go down to like maybe 22 cards. But you get to draw a card every turn and get advantage, because if you flip over a creature, you get the creature. Vral's the Scar Tipped. Not bad. He will do work for you in draft. He's the best scavenger they printed, because he will make everything scavengers. Or make everything scavenge, and then he can sack other creatures to keep himself alive and then scavenge more onto him. So if you have a very creature heavy deck, he's really, really solid. Gaze of Granite, card I personally like. Destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X or less. X, 2 black, and a green. You cannot go wrong with it at all. And yeah, it's solid. You basically play it to your advantage. Make sure you have the, make sure your opponent always suffers more. Crows to Gorgon In the Simic Golgari deck, this thing's amazing because you'll be able to just keep evolving your creatures and using it to kill other things. And it's a 2/5 with Death Touch for 5 to remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control. Target creature gets -1/-1. If you're in the Simic Golgari deck, it does work for you. It's great. I played one of them in my draft, or my sealed. I liked it. Putrefy. It's the best removal from the set, flat. It's destroy target artifact creature, can't be regenerated for 3 instant. It's the best, flat, doesn't have any more gimmicks to it. You just go kill. So there you go, about that. Rot Farm Skeleton. I don't really like it at all. Can't block. It's a 4/1 for 4, and you mill yourself to get it out. I mean, it might work with some other stuff, but yeah, I don't like it too much. Drown and Filth. I don't like it either. It's bad. Why? Unless you're against like Dimir and they put a bunch of land in your graveyard, it's gonna be bad. Thrashing Moss Dog we've already went over. Down and Dirty. Target player discards 2 cards for 4. Dirty return. That's bad. I mean, the dirty part is okay because it returns a creature to your hand, but the down part, 2 cards for 4 mana, no. If the dirty part was like cost 4 and it was like return to a creature card from your graveyard to play, then down and dirty would make more sense because you might be able to. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Flesh and Blood. Flesh basically scavenges a creature that doesn't have scavenge, and could actually be pretty solid, depending on what you have in the graveyard. Could win you a game. Just exile a creature, target creature gets +1/+1 counters for the power of the creature, so if you have like a 5/5, it's +5/+5. And Blood is target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature player. That I like. I like that combo. So 7 mana, you can pump up a creature by like +4/+4, and then you could hit something for like 7. Kill a creature, or kill your opponent. That card, at least the Blood part, will see a lot of play. The Flesh part, probably not as much, but Blood will. Okay, this should go pretty quick. I'm gonna get the flip card over. Armed and Dangerous. Armed and Dangerous, armed, target creature is +1/+1 against double strike. For all creatures able to block target creatures this turn, do so. So essentially you can put the armed on something and go in for the win. Double strike is very relevant. So if your opponent does something dumb, you can punish them and kill them for it. Or you can give something double strike, make all your opponent's creatures block it and just blow them out. That's solid for the cost. I mean, that's 6 mana combined, that's not too bad for a way to just kill off your opponent. Now, Savage-Born Hydra. It's awesome. I don't really need to go over this too much. Double strike, you put a bunch of counters on it, you can keep putting counters on it. He is going to ruin your opponent's day, he's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and just smash over things. Rurik Thar, the Unbowed. In Limited, I like him a lot, just as much as I like him in Constructed, for the sole reason that he's a 6/6 for 6, Vigilance and Reach, so he blocks, he attacks every turn, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, he deals 6 damage to that player. So you play a bunch of creatures to back him up, and if they try and remove him with a spell, they get punished for it. He is just solid. Zertai Ancient. It's good and bad. I mean, you play him as a finisher because 5 mana for a 7/5 is solid still. But, like with all cards of this nature, your opponent is always going to get the benefit of it first, generally. Because you want to play him turn 5, but your opponent is going to get that benefit. So play him with a grain of salt. If you're going to drop him, try not to just go straight turn 5. Maybe play it when your opponent's low on cards or something like that, you know. Something to sort of minimize the effect on it. for your opponent. Feral Animist. If you can give that guy trample or evasion, he will win you games. Because he will just basically get in for +X+0 until end of turn, where X is his power, and that costs 3 to apply. And they just keep going up and up and up. If you have mana, you can keep casting it. Scab Clan Giant. It's not bad. It's 6 mana for 4/5, and it comes into play and will generally kill anything. I mean, there's not much it's gonna fight into commons and uncommons and not kill. It's has enough power and enough booty to take a hit, so it's pretty good. Not much to really go over. It's just a solid card. It's a good bomb. Alright, Gruul Warchant. This card is good. Now, a lot of people don't like, in previous sets they don't like the enchantments as much, but the fact that it gives all your creatures +1/+0 and gives them all the fact they have to be blocked by 2 things will get you in the last bit of points and is worth the cost and dropping down. It's just really solid. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, just it's good. It pretty much just reads I'm awesome. And last but not least, the Zerta Druid. I like this guy just because it's a mana fixer that punishes your opponent for being a mana fixer. He extorts just for casting spells for you. And I like the fact they didn't make him a 2/2, because then I'm not really contemplating attacking with him. I'm just using him as a mana boost, maybe a possible blocker. I mean, you don't even need to cast anything to ping with him. That's the thing. There's no mana burn anymore, so you just go EOT, I tap, put a mana on my mana pool, take 1. It's good. There's no downside to it. He's a good card to put in the deck to sort of ramp and get some, poke at your opponent a little bit. Alright. Oh man. Let's see here. Legion's Initiative. And we're in Boros, by the way, now, if that wasn't obvious. Red creatures get +1/+0, white creatures get +0/+1. It's red. It's for red and white. It's a 2-drop. It's like basically an Honor the Pure, but a bit more mixed. If you exile it, you exile all creatures you control at the beginning of your next combat, return those creatures to the battlefield, and those creatures gain haste until end of turn. So, if they do a sweeper, I mean, this card will probably see some play in aggro decks just for the sole fact you can protect your cards if they sweep. And they'll all come back and they'll all attack next turn. So that's a pretty solid card. Another thing to note about it is, I think it'll be played in the green, red, white deck for the sole reason that if you drop that down and you have a good setup there, like as a late game setup, you can swing in, pop it, next turn everything comes back into play, you get a shit ton of mana. I mean, it's good if you're holding a bunch of burn, because you can basically, like, hypothetically, you have one burning tree in play and some other stuff. You attack, that's cool, you do something else, you exile all your creatures. Next turn they come into play, you get 2 mana in your mana pool, you swing in, you can spear, or you can spear them pretty much. Or if you have like a wide open, 1 white, or Boros Charm, you get what I'm saying. Gives you more options. Versatility is pretty good, it's something that you're not going to see in the combo, or the aggro decks too much, so it's pretty solid. Tajik, Blade of the Legion. Play this guy. For 4 mana you get an indestructible 2/2, and if you have Battalion he's going to stomp things. Enough said about that. He's just gonna stomp through things. Boros Battle Shaper. Beginning of each combat, up to 1 target creature attacks or blocks this combat. If able, and up to 1 can't attack or block. Oh, it basically, you play him, swing in. He's going to be like your super late Boros drop, even though you don't really want 7 drops in a good Boros, aggressive Boros deck. But he's going to shape combat how you want. So yeah, it's solid. War Leader's Helix. 2 colorless, 1 red, 1 white. Deals 4 damage to target creature or player and you gain 4 life. It's basically a souped up lightning helix. For 4 mana, you can kill something and gain 4 life. Or hit them and gain 4 life. Good stuff. It's a good finisher. Blaze Commando. I don't like him too much. I played with him and I thought he was a bit subpar. I never really got to use him to his full extent, so I'm going to hold my reasoning on Blaze Commando back. It's 5 mana for a 5/3, and the effect could be relevant. I don't know how relevant it is. It's one of the only cards I'm on the fence about. I'd have to play it more to understand, to get a better grasp on it, because that card could be pretty solid or it could just be bad. So we'll see. That being said, Gleam of Battle. Whenever a creature you control attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's not bad. It costs 6 though, so it's not going to be too good. But it's going to progressively make your stuff harder to kill, so, I mean, if you're able to get it out fast, or, you know, have something to abuse it with, it could be good. But it's not going to be something super amazing to be drafting. Shauna First Blade. Aggressive decks just got even more aggressive. Woohoo! 3 mana for a 4/4 haster. And might see some constructor play because it is pretty hasty and beefy. It seems pretty good. But yeah, it's pretty much your aggro card you want to play. Mastiff we already went over. Wear and Tear, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment. That's just some basic stuff. It's good in the sideboard. Okay, we got 2 more to go. Well, the last 2 are pretty good. Right off the bat, Voice of Resurgence. Pick this card up if you get the chance. It's going to be one of the better cards you pick up in draft, I think. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, or when Voice of Resurgence dies, or when Voice of Resurgence dies, put a green and white creature, elemental creature token in play with this creature's power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. So essentially, when it dies, or when an opponent casts a turn, you make dudes. So if they're trying to remove it, you make a dude. If you get the picture. It's really solid. It replaces itself generally all the time, and that token can get be beastly. That's all you can really say about it. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's solid. I'm on the fence on whether I think it's amazing and constructed or not. I think it's decent. I don't know how good it actually is. It's one of those cards I'm reserving my judgment on because it's one of those cards you're going to see a bunch of hype on early on. But, you know, if you drop that turn 2 and I kill it, your token's going to come into play and die, especially if you have a bad opening. So I don't know how great it's going to be constructed-wise. In Limited, though, this card is great because this format is all about dudes. You play some dudes, you make a dude with this, the dude's going to be a big dude, all that dude and stuff, and we're going to dude around. Shouldn't it be an XX? Or a star, considering... Well... No, I still don't really like it too much. Still. I'm on the fence about it. Thank you for correcting me, though. I've been doing this for a while, so my brain's frazzling out. Alright. A lot of people like it. No joke. I didn't give a shit about it. And I played it, right? Or no, I opened it up in my second pack. Like, the first pack I opened from the draft, because I went like 2-2 after a shitty pool. It was amazing because I had a Rurik Thar in there, a Hollowed Fountain, and a Foil Exala. And then I opened up Voice of Resurgence, and some guy was like, I'll give you 4 packs for that. I told him, you give me 5 packs for it. You have a deal. He was walking around like, is 5 packs good enough for this? The guys were like, yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm like, give me your 5 packs, bro. He's like, yes, here. Here's your 5 packs. I'd rather open up packs and try and get some other stuff and get a more diverse pool, because I'm probably not going to play it anyway, so get value for it before it drops. That's the key. That is the key. Alright, Amara Tandris. Prevent all damage will be dealt to creature tokens you control. It's a 5/7 for 7. It's terrible. If you have a super heavy populate deck, it comes down a little bit too late to be relevant. But most likely there will be games where it will come down and it will be relevant because, you know, that's how some of these cards work. It's very, very situational to be good, and the only reason for that is because it costs 7. But you will still probably end up playing it because it's a 5/7. Sometimes a 5/7 is just good enough because it's a 5/7. Advent of the Worm. That is awesome if you open that up, pick it up. 5/5 EOT is solid. If you have some other populators, it's even better. I mean, if you get Scion of U2 Gods and Advent of the Worm the same draft, you're doing golden. It's awesome. You can just EOT 5/5 Worm them. They're like, oh, that sucks. Worm. Bronzebeak Moa. To be perfectly honest, I love this guy in draft. He's a 2/2 for 4, and whenever another creature enters a battlefield under control, he becomes 5/5. Gets +3/+3. And, you know, if you have 2 creatures, you can make him a 8/8 by just playing 2 creatures on the same turn, then swinging in. I played him in draft, and because, or in the release, but because this format is very dude-heavy, he is very good in draft, and you generally will have something to pump him up every turn. I mean, when you run out of steam, if you haven't won, even after like pumping him up 3 times, you're probably in a bad place anyway. But he basically presses the advantage for you, keeps you going in the attack department, beefing himself up. Yeah, I like him. He's solid. Unflinching Courage. Armadillo Cloak! Pick it up if you get the chance. It's awesome. +2/+2, trample and lifelink. There's nothing bad about that card. It is worth 3 mana. You put it on your creature, you go to town, gain some life, trample over some dudes, put it on something with evasion. You're doing great. Alright. Tristani Summoner. You know, I'd probably even say play this over Amara Tandris, just because a Summoner puts 9 power worth of dudes on the field. Oh, sorry, 10 power on the field for you. And I think that's worth it a lot more. I mean, if you played in tandem and play like Summoner and then Tandris somehow, you're probably doing pretty good and going to win that game. But if you had to pick between the two, probably play the Summoner because you'll get more value out of it. But yeah, sum it up. This is your end game for tokens. You will play this, even though it costs 7, because tokens generally is sort of a mid-rangey deck, and you will love it. There's nothing wrong with that card, and you just, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Armored Wolf Rider, 4/6 for 5. Good cost value for power. He's just going to be your solid vanilla attacker, get in there for some damage. Yeah, nothing wrong with him. And Armored Wolf Rider, or Scion is awesome. I love this guy. I want to draft him, because he'll just win you a game. 4/4, put some birds into play. I love anything that puts other dudes into play that's not super costed, like Horncaller's Chant, if I remember that correctly. Past that, we already went over Alive and Well. Or no, we didn't. Alive, you put a 3/3 green centaur creature token on the battlefield for 4 mana at sorcery speed. Well, you gain 2 life for each creature control. It's not terrible, but considering there's a spell that costs 2 and you put a 3/3 into play already, or 3/3 centaur into play already, it's not that good. Sorry. And the life gain effect could be relevant, but let's get a better summary. I need something else, come on. There you go. And Ready and Willing, we already covered. Alrighty. So, Progenitor Mimic. 6 mana. It is a house. If you open this up, you need to play it. Because it comes down and your day is going to be ruined if you can't remove it, because he's just going to start making tokens. And he's never going to stop. The only reason I did not go 3-0 at least 3-0 in my at my pre-release with my terrible pooled deck is because a guy opened 2 Progenitor Mimics. That's it. He had 2 fucking Mimics. I killed one and then he dropped another one on my Tiger. Oh, so angry. That is why I lost. That and he, after I played my own Tesa against him, which could have at least got me back in the game, he top decked a Detention Sphere. So that's what ruined it even more. But the guy had a really good deck. My deck was garbage, so I mean it's probably karma. He probably should have went 4-0, which he did. But my deck was terrible. Sorry. Rule of the Whole Clad. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. It's a 1/4. For each counter on target artifact, creature, or land, put another of those counters on that permanent. Much like the Krasis Lord that you have, this guy's also going to be really solid too, just bumping everything up. Alright, Underway, this is the last one I was doing anyway. If you enjoyed the stream, please follow and come back again, man. And yeah, thanks for staying so long, man. Yeah, he basically just pumps up all your guys. Solid, not bad. He's costed right for a 1/4. If you're in the Evolved deck, he does work for you. He gets you there. Plasma Catcher. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next pre-combat main phase. Add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool where X is that spell's converted mana cost. This is going to be played and constructed for sure, but in limited it's going to be house too. I mean, you can counter something and then play your own dudes off of it. It's just solid. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It's even if you don't have really a control deck, you'll still play it because the spell is relevant. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like curving off like a Shamble Shark and a Croconator and then leaving 4 mana open for this to counter the next big play and then powering out a bunch of crap on your 5th turn. So it's versatile. Your opponent will probably not be expecting it. I mean, they might think you have it if they've seen it, but no one's going to pass this really, unless they're not in that color. But I wouldn't pass a Plasma Capture anyway, because if you're not doing a serious tournament, it's going to be worth money, and it's going to be good for a binder to trade. I mean, it's just all there is to it. Sometimes, if you're not in the big tournament, you just pick the cards for value, because some cards are going to be really valuable, and this is one of those cards. I'm pretty sure Capture is going to be a format staple for a while, so until you get 4, I wouldn't, you know, overlook that, and I wouldn't pass it either. And if you're not in that color, just hate it out anyway. Fuck it. You don't want to be on the receiving end of that. Counter your big dude, then they mess you up with it. Okay. Krasis Incubation. It's good and bad. Bad because it costs 4. I'd like it more at 3. It is going to be something that just locks down a creature, which can be your own, by the way. And you can return it to your hand and put 2 +1/+1 counters on enchanted creatures. So if you're winning and you just want to, or you're in a stalled game, you can beef up one of your own creatures. If you put it on your opponent's creature, you can pump that up if a much worse threat comes on. That's when threat management comes into play, and you just sort of do what you got to do. But it's versatile, but I think it could be bad. I'd like it more if it costed less. Like if it costs 3 to play, 2 to untap, I'd like it more, and I think it'd be more playable. For 5 mana, Species Gorger. It's a 6/6. It bounces a creature you control to its hand, or to your hand every turn. If you have something that plays well with it, it's good. If you don't, then it's still probably pretty good as long as you have creatures. That's about it. I mean, it's just a 6/6 for 5. It's just big power. Just toss it out there. Bred for the Hunt. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you are in the heavy Evolved deck, it's not going to be a terrible card. I mean, and compared to some of the other enchantments that are out there in the set, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. I'd say the best is the Growl one that makes it so it's harder to block our creatures and they get pumped up a bit. But at least with this, if you're in the heavy Evolved deck, you will, you know, get some card advantage out of it. But you know, it's not going to have an effect when it comes into play, which is one of the big downside to it. You generally want your cards to have some sort of an effect. whether it's a body to block with or, you know, some effect that comes into play. Alright, Beetle Form Mage. 1 colorless, 1 forest, 1 island, it's a 2/2. This is essentially one of the best commons in the set, for the sole purpose that it's common, it's a 2/2 for 3, but you tap a forest and an island every turn. Gets +2/+2 and gains flying. So you get a 4/4 flyer pretty much every turn at the cost of 2 mana, which is not bad in limited. The only thing I don't like about this guy is not anything to do with the card, it's just they printed up Frilled Oculus in Gatecrash, and then they decided, well, you know, we're going to make a strictly better Frilled Oculus in Dragon Maze. I don't know if they already were working on the set after Gatecrash or what, but I would have liked to see either Frilled Oculus or this be something else. But I don't know. That's me personally griping, and I have random complaints about things, but it's nothing that breaks anything. It's a great card. If you get it in Simic colors, you play it and you windmill slam it, drop kick your opponent through the wall, Hulk out, you know, jump around, smash a Walmart up or some crap. You'll be good, don't worry. Play it and you'll win. And then Give and Take. Give 3 or 2 colorless, 1 forest. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It's good. It just pumps up the creature, and that's really solid for 3 mana. Take. Remove all +1/+1 counters from target creature you control. Draw that many cards. So this is basically a 6 mana, possibly just draw 3. Most of the time, I mean, you're going to use Give. You might use Take if, you know, you have something that's not doing anything, and just be like, I want to draw 2. So you can draw 2 for a 3. It's not the best, not the worst, but it gets you there. That all being said, that is it for the draft, for the limited discussion about Dragon Maze. We went over every card in this set, all 166 of them minus the lands. Pretty much, well, we talked about the lands briefly. But this is pretty much, yeah. Pretty much it. Yeah, hopefully this was informative to you guys. I'm saying this now because I'm going to put this on YouTube, but if you enjoyed this, please check out my stream, twitchtv.com/gen_acid. I do a lot of this stuff quite a bit. If you need help with anything draft related, limited related, standard related, you can come and ask me. I'm a source of information. To everyone who watched live, if you enjoyed this, please follow if you haven't already and come back again. If you ever need help with anything, you are always welcome to come in and ask me, or send me a message if it's something you don't want to ask overall or something like that.